Hello, testing, testing. Is this thing on? I feel like you're getting very up close and personal with the inside of my car this year, but I don't know. It's a beautiful day in the neighborhood, so I wanted to sit outside and look at the water. Look at this. I don't know if you can see that. I hope so. Anyways. Okay, hey, how's it going? All right, so thank you for allowing me to do this final project as a spoken thing. That's awesome. Obviously, I wrote a bunch of stuff out as notes because I need some notes, and so I'm gonna be looking at my notes a lot. So please don't judge that. You and it's for the both of us. You and I both know Olivia needs notes because trust me, you know it's good. It's better for the both of us if I have some notes to look at, so we're not sitting here all night. So I'm gonna be looking at my notes. Okay, cool. So to describe, I'm just gonna get into it. To describe my relational framework, I decided to make something that I called the accountability bridge. I'm obviously going to going to the visual component more after and explain the bridge, but this is going to be kind of my written part. So if this is the written part, and I'll go into the visual of my bridge after, but I'm calling it the accountability bridge. So here we go. In my professional manifesto here, I have the accountability bridge, and that's my relational framework. So I'm also going to kind of connect it. I know you're probably bored of this topic, but I had it on the mind. So when you wrote in, the notes that, like, imagine you're delivering this to, like, a professional or an organization or, like, a job or whatever, I took that as, I'm applying in a few years to some sort of youth position or something to do with, drugs and safer supply or whatever. So I had that in mind. So that's kind of what my little manifesto is referencing, because I mean, that's what my interest is. That's what I've been interested in for how long. So I thought I would kind of just show you how this assignment applies to that, because obviously I work in childcare currently as an ECE, but like that's not where my heart lies. So when I'm thinking of a professional, framework, a relational framework for the rest of my life, like this is where my heart lies. So it's going to be in the context of kind of youth and youth work and safer supply and that kind of stuff. So all right, cool. So in this professional manifesto, I present my relational framework, and that is the accountability bridge. So in the context of Canadian safer supply and in youth engagement, just like youth in general, it doesn't have to just be with safer supply, but just, a lot of times youth in general, the river between the professional, me, and the young person is filled with so much crap. So much crap is in the water. So much structural violence and, like, institutional mistrust and just a bunch of crappy stuff in the water. So that's why I want to build a bridge, and it's not a tool for, like, rapport building or being like the nice, cool professional. It's a framework for, what Jennifer White said, like praxis, like the integration of knowing, doing, and being in context. So it is my disciplined commitment to ensuring that my, professional authority does not become a barrier to this youth life and their, dignity and their rights. So anyways, so kind of holding up my bridge, I have like my 4 pillars, my 4 posts holding up my bridge, which is like how I feel and the things that I think that make me who I am as a professional. So the first pillar is, you're gonna laugh at me, I pulled this up and I hope you can hear it. because I can't pronounce this word. So the first pillar is
epistemic.
Epistemic responsibility. So this is like a commitment to recognizing that a young person is the expert on their own life and survival. I think I wrote that in a paper to you like 5 years ago. Like, a child is the expert on childhood. So the planks on my bridge is going to be all the theory that I use, that I walk on to get to the other side, to the youth. So, my theory I walk across, I'm using Jennifer White's I hate this word.
Epistemic.
Epistemological diversity. And Lefrere's focuses on not muddling the youth's perspective with professional jargon and yap. And then I also am applying Butler and Sultana's, sorry if I'm butchering these names, concept of relational noticing. So, we kind of have to ask ourselves when, like I said, when we include youth in safer supply policy, like, are we actually sharing that power? Are we just, using their trauma for data and, like, mining their trauma for data? If we use all this, like, trauma-informed language that we're, like, told to be using, but if we only use it to explain why a youth is struggling, then we're, like, pathologizing them instead of questioning the system. So my framework is kind of arguing, like, how I feel. I am arguing that the youth's lived knowledge is a form of evidence, obviously, and that has to carry as much weight as a clinical study. So, that's my commitment to recognizing that a young person is an expert on their own life. So that's my first pillar. My second pillar is relational integrity. So this is how I kind of manage the weight of my perceived power and the interpretation of maybe their behavior. So the planks and the theory that I'm going to walk across is Pam Richmond's boundary questions to analyze the consequences of my choices. And then I'll also use, I keep using these names, Michalak, A.L., professional humility to acknowledge the limits of my own expertise. So, like, again, back to this, in safer supply clinics, when I was going, a lot of the time, if, like, someone's sitting there and they're quiet, you're going to interpret their silence as non-compliance and not being cooperative, as you said in class. You talked about that a lot when we did our little vignettes, and I am challenging this. It's such a, like, professional reflex to be like, or just, like, not even a professional reflex, just a human being reflex that, like, oh, someone's quiet, they must be mad at me, or, like, something is wrong. So I am challenging that. Like, is it a deficit? Is silence is it a deficit, or is it a boundary? If youth are in a system that is historically harm them over and over and over and over again, then you know what? Silence is a wonderful, wonderful form of agency in that case. So, my integrity as a professional depends on my ability to sit in that silence without forcing a connection. And, like, I have Richmond frames that as an ethical boundary of safety. So that is something I really, really care about as well. And that's going to be a big connection there. Is, like, not, sit in that silence. Don't force the connection. Because when you are forcing that connection, it's the exact same thing as, when you're a daycare teacher and you're going, oh, give me a hug. Give me a hug. That's about you. That's all about you. And if you're not comfortable in that silence and you're making that youth talk to you or explain themselves, like, that's about you. That's not about how they feel. So, that's my next one. Sorry, thirsty and tired. So third, this is my kind of my space versus place part, my architecture of power. So my third pillar is my shared agency. It focuses on the transition from managing an institutional space to co-constructing a relational place. I love this space and place. This was a really cool thing that we learned about, so thank you for that. So the theory that I'm going to walk across on my bridge is I'm going to rely on Corey Jobs' critique of the adult-centric space, and then Del Porta's power with model. And then I'm also going to integrate Joan Tronto's democratic care theory. I liked that one a lot. And Holland Coffin's supportive social learning. So I love those. Those are great. Really, really, really stoked on that. And I'm going to use those for this pillar, because this pillar, the shared agency pillar, it's, again, connecting it to safer supply. Like, are the safer supply programs designed for youth safety, or are they designed for adult surveillance? Like I have here in my notes, like, Job teaches us that space is never neutral. It's designed to control people. It's designed to control bodies. It is designed, like, literally, you think of it, I heard today at daycare, we can't set that up there because then there's a blind spot, we can't see the kids. So it's like you're literally setting up a space to control people. And if in the youth context, if youth have no say in how the clinic, at a safer supply clinic operates, then they can't influence the daily activities. So then, back to Toronto, like, then it's a space of containment and not a place of care. If they have not had one say in how to design a space, you're like walking into a super clinical, horrible spot. Like, that's a space of containment. There is no place of care there. So my framework and how I feel, like, I demand that I and we move beyond tokenistic consultation to actual partnership. Shared agency is my third pillar. And then my fourth one is radical accountability. And this is, the anchor that holds my bridge steady during conflict or rupture, as we talked about. So for my theory for this pillar, I utilize Mann and Feeder and Steckley. I use the reflexive relational model and the ethics of discomfort, like a little bit that you talked about in class, one of our slides, ethics of discomfort and all that jazz and all. I guess for this pillar, it's just what it says, radical accountability. Does our care cancel our power? No. We often assume that because we have good intentions, man, this sunset is beautiful, that our impact is, like, automatically helpful. That, because, I thought I was thinking of what was best for them, so that, I tried, so that's good enough, and I did enough. But no, I reject this. I don't like this. I reject it. Intent doesn't equal impact. I love that. When a policy, or an interaction or whatever, that if it harms a youth, then my professional responsibility is not to explain my motives, but to take accountability for the impact. Like, it's not for me to sit around and go, well, I did this because youth doesn't care. Oh, Olivia, I cut you off your opioid medication because of this reason, this was my motives. I don't care. I want you to apologize for, that having a hand in what happened next. You know, I want an apology. So yeah, that's why in my note here I put, yeah, my professional responsibility is not to explain my motives, but to take accountability for the impact. So, as Man Feeder and Streckley suggests, I must ask, how am I implicated in this harm? So yeah, relationship is the ethical outcome, and that only happens through the process of repair, acknowledging the harm, and then changing future action. So yeah, like so this bridge, kind of all those 4 pillars, and I just took in all like my favorite points from the articles and what I took from the articles that you got us to read, and like my interpretations of them, and just put them into like these 4 pillars that hold up my bridge. Then I connected it to my safe supply, because you know that's where my heart lies, and I just thought of these, you know, some questions and stuff like that. I thought about how I would apply this in my everyday. So that was kind of that part. So yeah, it represents, you know, my bridge represents a commitment to just like a higher level of professional ethics that go beyond just like, you know, the paper that you get when you start a job that says these are the ethics of our company, or like these are the whatever's. Like I want to go beyond that. Like I want to go beyond that. So with my theoretical planks that I have going across the bridge, and if I keep learning and I keep, you know, reflecting and going back, and reading new things and updating and hopefully getting new articles from people I respect like you, and walking across those theoretical planks, I am going to ensure that my practice does not just like reproduce control, but it builds a path towards, you know, justice and dignity and autonomy in children and youth. So yeah, that's the tea. Yeah, okay, cool. So I don't know. Hopefully that made a little bit of sense. I'll go a little bit more into it in my visual. So give me 1 second.